to your YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
And then once that starts, I grab that link and paste that shit in the group.
Cool.
Once it starts. Once it starts.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it at? Where is it at? All right, here we go. We don't give a shit. And we want to go publish now. Whether they like it or not, we're going live, dude.
Right on. Good.
Hope they stuck around.
Yeah, man. I mean, they got to expect some kind of, minor glitch first time.
Now, if you can,
We're not.
you can probably have a couple windows open right on your computer screen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you want to pull up the Patreon group, you can actually see the feed.
All right. Let me minimize this guy a little bit here. Oops. Doing this without my glasses on.
Dude. Hey, we got somebody here with us. Jordan is with us. Good to see you, man. Mac, it's just me, you, and Jordan tonight. That's it. Oh,
Right
sorry. Carmel Sack is here, too, saying burn it down.
Cool.
Evening, Eddie.
Right.
Good to have you with us. Guys, sorry for the little bit of delay. We just our first time out, so we're just a couple of rookies trying to find our way in the world. Willie Will was in my previous group, and when I shut that down, dude, he joined this one.
Cool. Right on.
And again, good to have you, Jordan. And we'll just give. And it says I've got 30. It says okay, we've got 33 people viewing so far. So.
Right on.
So it's more than what's necessarily commenting. Andrew, good evening to you. So now, Matt, can you see the thing on the
Nope.
Patreon at all?
Mm-mm. Yeah, I could see our pictures. Hold on, I'm hitting play button.
Yeah, hit the play button.
Yep. It's a little bit behind.
Right. Okay, just so you can see kind of. So it looks like I don't think there's any. Okay, yeah. Refreshing the screen. I'll have to do some refreshing and kind of work with this stuff, guys. I don't want Mac to have to keep looking around, so let me handle all the comments and whatnot, and you just stay focused on the discussion. Dev, Alex, Jason, good to have you. Willie Will says, thank you for your service. Mac.
Right on.
See, he's heard about you for the last few years since I've known you, but from my group. So he's been following for a long time.
Good. I'm excited about this thing.
Hell yeah, man. Christopher Nicholas, will there be a delay between us commenting on when it shows? Probably. It's like bouncing through the stratosphere and whatnot.
Yeah. You're gonna read some of these things, right?
Yeah, I'll read some. Yeah, everybody just kind of saying hello. So we got Eddie, Stephanie, John, Jonathan Ingram, Ed Garcia, Mark, Jeff Watson. I don't know if it's how much it's updating from one to the other, but so I'm going to try and keep up with this, guys, and because I'm seeing different comments here than I am here, so we're going to try our best. I'll be the one moving my head around, so you guys have to forgive me for that. But what's up, Mac?
Nothing. I'm getting ready to crack a home beer if I have your permission.
You have absolute permission.
All right. First beer right there.
I would say,
boom.
Yeah, me and Mac were texting each other beforehand, and I said, stay sober, man. He's like, I'm trying. I said, well, one of us has to, and I'm choosing you. So that all went out the window. Now, on Metal Bros, which I've been doing, that's required to drink.
Cool. I like that.
But, of course, there's no
truth serum.
Yeah. And then after 3 or 4 hours later, you're like, oh, that shit was too long.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, keep coming on in, guys. Good to have everybody here tonight. Man, this is the first, dude.
Yep.
live stream in the coaching squad. Coaching squad is what, 3 weeks old?
Yeah, it's new. It's in its infancy still. And man, I am recording the hell out of some content, man.
Badass.
I'm gonna send you a whole bunch of stuff. But during this coronation, I have time. So, and the guys have been sending me awesome advice and suggestions and ideas for content. And yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do all of them. You know, a lot of them will apply to the masses, but some of them, you know, if they only apply to one or two guys, you know, I might put that on a back burner. Yeah. But
I'll cover everything else.
Right on. Good.
Yeah, it's been and I hope everybody digs that. You know, there's a diversity here, and what's interesting is that, you know, and this kind of hit me after the fact, but it just stands to reason why, you know, we connected when we did. Because, you know, Mac's phrase, if I had to encapsulate Mac's mission, his mission is to help you kick your clone's ass tomorrow. That's his mission in life, to make it simple. But that's his statement, is that if we were to clone yourself today, could you kick your clone's ass tomorrow? And then I brought mine, which I've had for several years, which is the University of Badassery, which was, if you know, to be a badass, you have to kick ass. The first ass to kick is your own.
Bam.
We didn't realize that they were completely harmonious. So, right. But what's interesting, though, is that theme is coming through two completely different vantage points and completely different applications, because, Mac, you're so damn hands-on.
Right.
You know, with everything, but the mindset and the outlook just breeze through everything, whether you're talking about what you're talking about today, like a daisy chain.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I am very fortunate to know a lot of things, you know. I'm like a jack of all trades, master of none. So, yeah, and a lot of it I take for granted. So when guys said, "Well, how do you do a daisy chain?" I'm like, you know what? Let me just put up a quick vid, just a kind of a continuation on that go bag thing. But I'll knock those out in a heartbeat, especially right now during this time, because I've got chunks of time.
Yeah. So Mac? How have things developed now? Because it's been a couple months, right?
Yep.
Pretty much. How have things developed? How have you evolved? I know you're excited. I know you're still excited about the everyday thing, but do you find yourself changing, adjusting things? You're like, you know what? I don't feel the same way I did 2 months ago. I'm changing this. What? Has anything evolved?
I tell you my stress level has gone down substantially. I was pinging, man. My stress level was off the charts. I mean, my doc had to put me on high blood pressure medicine.
Oh, no kidding.
You know, I mean, yeah. So stress level has gone way down, because I don't have to think about, all right, next course is in Oklahoma. I got to pack this. I got to check the weather. Let me get a hotel, rental car, you know, drag all my crap to an airport, get that rental car, check into that hotel, find the range, do my class, and then reverse the process, and then get home, do my chores, do my admin, and then start the process all over again. Yeah. So I like that I'm staying busy right now, super busy, without the massive amounts of stress.
Right.
You know, so stress level has gone way down.
Well, okay. So now how is that now adjusting the way you're acting every day? Because, I mean, you know, you're always going to have a level of intensity. It's just, you know, it's just your MO, bro. It's just how you are. So, but are you like saying, you know what? I don't have to get up as early. Hey, you know what? I don't have to stay up as late. Or you know what? I don't have to. Are you adjust? Not to say like you're saying, okay, well, this is an opportunity. I think I can be more lazy, but I'm just like, maybe I don't need to peak it out so much, you know, on everything all the time.
I'm still kind of doing that, but I'm able to be a little more introspective right now,
right?
And, you know, do some self-reflecting. So that's a good thing too. And
we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I think like with other people, I have the opportunity to exercise creative freedom and creative expression and my imagination and stuff like that, which is so nourishing for the command center. Right. You know, because before my day-to-day operations, there was no me time. I had no me time, none at all. So I have some me time now, which is good, but I still want that me time to be a part of other people's lives as well.
Right.
I mean, why not? I
Yeah.
mean, because I'm not binge watching TV and stuff like that. I'm very active during this time,
Right.
whether it's with doing this. Like I'll get on the Patreon site 5 times a day and check for messages, and because I mean, if a guy asks a question, guy or gal asks a question, it'd be great to boom, ping him back within a couple of hours.
Yes.
So it's so freaking good to have this time right now. I mean, it's not lazy time, not at all. But it's good. It's just time that I've never had before. It's been a long, long time since I've had time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I mean, I've been up close, and I know how he is, and I've said this before on the podcast that I could not be happier for someone, in all honesty, because I know 2 things. I know what he's been going through, what you've gone through, but I also know what you're entering into.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? It's not like I'm okay. Well, good luck with this home business thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know exactly where you're going. I'm the guru of the home-based life. So I know exactly where you're headed, and I know how good this dude. I believe it'll put years on your life, man.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's going to add some time.
And my workouts have been awesome too, and doing the home workouts, right. Doing my driveway gym stuff, man, talk about getting the juices flowing, being creative. I mean, you see my pallet with wheels I put on awesome. It in the steel targets and pulling that thing up the driveway.
Right.
I mean, and I've been able to get so creative with a folding ladder. I mean, that's been my number one piece of gym equipment, that folding ladder. But yeah, it's been good. So I've been super. My body feels good, because doing week to week. Every weekend on the range, everything hurts a little bit. My knees hurt, my back hurts, everything hurts. So it's chronic pain. Yeah. I feel good right now, just working out regularly, eating good, staying super, super busy, staying focused, keeping the mind nourished, keeping the body physically fit. Yeah, it's been a good thing for me. And
I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm going to talk about this in the attitude adjustment video that we'll post tomorrow morning, but talking about the issue of hormones. For years, dude, people say, you can make yourself sick. Stress does this, stress does that. I was like, I never really bought it because I could never pick. It just sounded like witchcraft to me, dude. It's like, how does stress up here affect all things down here? Well, it does. Big time. Oh, yeah. And so I'd be willing to bet that the reduction in stress for you has affected things hormonal, which has got to be reducing inflammation, dude. Has to be.
Right.
And that's
no doubt.
Yes, you're probably feeling a hell of a lot better. So more of this, sir. Now, in fact, somebody asked here, Dev, he said, how do you maintain the intensity at an older age? I'm 44 and can't charge as hard as I used to.
Right. Now,
none of us
and we've talked about this. Right. No, everything. And I tell you, I'm going to reiterate a couple of things that we talked about on podcasts. Number one, the peak, the pinnacle, the apex of a man's life physically, if he's maintained a level of fitness, is mid-40s, at 45, 46 years old. Once you get past 50, that's when things start changing a lot. Yeah. And I've also talked about this before as far as drive and motivation. My main source of motivation comes from the people I am motivating. Right. They're, when I post something, when I post a workout or a little Sunday Sentinel sermon or a basic dude stuff, the response I get from you guys out there keeps my drive alive.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. I get fired. I'd love to fire people up, but I need that fire in return.
Yep.
I have to have it in return.
Well, it's like we always say, right? How do you motivate a motivator? Tell them how much he motivates you, man. Because 100%. Because it's, we are always learning. We're never pretend we know it all. We never feel like we've arrived. We've left.
Yep.
We're not neutral. We're not in park. We have left. We recognize that we haven't arrived, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, when you get in this position, like we're in, Mac, you spend so much time giving to others, investing in it, and you're glad to do it. You're wired for it. The metal gods have intended you to do this sort of thing. But so you're like, okay, well, people might ask, well, where do you get your best source of motivation from? Well, I'm inspired by all sorts of things. I'm inspired by you, Mac. I'm inspired by stuff I read, whatever. But nothing, I think, does it when you're called to do this kind of thing. When you're wired, nothing does it like seeing the harvest of the seed you planted. You know what I mean? It's just we would be as discouraged as a farmer who just did everything he could, put seed out there, like you working in your garden in the back, growing your plants and your veggies. If shit never grew up, if you had a little couple things here and there, little leaves, but nothing ever grew, and you're just racking your brain. No, it's when you go out there and you see height and results, and the whole thing is full. You're like, see, that motivates you, and it's reinforcing. It's actually a pretty badass way to do it. So I think, again, for Dev, that intensity is naturally going to go down.
Right.
Both Mac and I were you're a year apart. Mac's 55, I'm 54, so we jive with the old age thing. But at the same time, I think so much comes down to, this is one of the interesting things about motivation or intensity or passion about anything, is desire or passion is one of those few types of hunger that grows when you feed it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you and I are hungry, we go get something to eat. That hunger is assuaged. It's over. And until that digestion finishes and our stomach's empty again, we're not going to be hungry again. But a fire can be hungry, but is it ever full? You know what I mean? Never. A fire will eat as much as you can conceivably feed it. So when it comes to like passion and intensity and those sorts of things in life, the more you feed it, the hotter it gets, the more that it grows. So that's why, again, if you just happen to stumble upon a workout video, well, guess what? You probably want to work out after that. You watch your Rocky when you were younger. Yeah, you probably want to go work out after that. Why? Because it's feeding that desire in you. You have to cut off the bullshit because the bullshit is taxing your intensity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the great thing about this squad is we could, grow together like that. And, whether it's, building something or reading a book or, growing that garden or working out, whatever it is, anything that revolves around self-improvement, we could exchange those ideas here, which is great because it's another platform for me to feed people and get fed at the same time.
There you go. I just saw here that somebody said that they went to the YouTube link and that it was a little bit better on the feed. So if you guys want to do that, you're welcome to. It's an unlisted link, but we have to use that YouTube channel in order to get the feed over here. So I don't care where you're at. Hopefully we can still get your comment, but we don't care where you're at. Okay, we got somebody here from Scotland, Christopher Shearer from Scotland.
Cool.
That's right, Jordan. The quarantine has made people resourceful and inventive. Let me see. Thank you, Grizzly. Intraweb at its finest. Okay. M. Blood says, do you ever do workouts like Murph? He says, yesterday I did a Murph practice, 20 minutes AMRAP, whatever that means, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats on my CST strength day. It was great. I was sore for sure, but I felt great.
No, I don't do any of the CrossFit stuff. And so AMRAP is as many reps as possible, something like that. But no, I like to use my own programming because once again, it encourages creativity. I have to think about it, and then now I have ownership. It's mine. I did it. And a lot of those, the CrossFit type of WODs are outcome-based training, so execution with consideration of the consequence. Will I succeed or will I fail? I do nothing but performance-based training, which says, we all perform differently, and performance can be measured by doing what we can with what we have. Right. So I set my own standard. It's not written by anybody. And there's some similarities in that I do a lot of interval work. So I work on a timer, like a 2-minute timer, 30-second break kind of thing, sort of like that.
Great. Yeah, it's one of the first things I learned from Mac was he doesn't do CrossFit. Okay, so more people are saying that the YouTube feed works a lot better. So if anybody wants to go to the YouTube feed, you can always go there. They said that the comments and things are working better. And that's something we're going to learn. Maybe we'll keep on doing both or switch it out. Doesn't matter. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and observe it on YouTube as well. But I don't know.
Cool.
Okay, yeah, actually it does. Does look pretty cool. But I got to look way over there. Okay, Jeremy asks, Mac, you said you were getting ready for range day. Where are you teaching?
Well, typically I teach all over the country, different state every week. This year I've slowed it down. This year I've slowed it down quite a bit. I'm cutting way back on my travel. So most all of my training I'm going to do in my home state of North Carolina. I have a couple other courses that I'm traveling to this year. They've been filled up for a long time. I mean, I've got one in Connecticut coming up and one in Tennessee. I can't remember. I don't like looking at my calendar unless I have to. It's right over there. I could see it peeking at me. But this year is the last year of that massive calendar. So most all the courses I'm going to do are going to be here in North Carolina, and not just the ones I schedule, but people can schedule private courses and stuff, such like that. So I'm sort of in the Pinehurst area. It's a beautiful area, and there's a nice trendy town, and so it's a great place to visit as well. So if you want that private training, hook me up, and I will see what we can do.
There you go, man. Alex asks, how can you be kind without being a pushover?
I think that's easy, isn't it? I mean, it's very human to be kind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by default, we are kind and caring toward our own kind, toward other human beings. But being a pushover is no freaking good. I think there's a fine line there, right? And I think lessons are learned, you know, when you're a pushover. It's just so you only get pushed so many times before you realize, you know what, I'm being a freaking pushover and I can't anymore. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think you get that through it comes with wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been a pushover in the past, and it's like, you know what, no freaking way, man. You have to know when to say no without being a dick about it.
Yeah. I mean, like Max said, I think you know, we have to be kind because kindness is right, but you don't want to ever be driven by this expectation of reciprocity. Don't do things so that people will do it back to you. Do it because it's right. Yep. You know, I want to be like Max says. You know, you want that sweet pillow of a clean conscience, right, to sleep with every night. And so I know that I was decent or kind to someone, and I know that when I wasn't, then I got to clear my own heart about that, maybe apologize to somebody. For me, it's kind of the opposite. It's dude, you got to quit being such a dick.
Yeah, right.
But at root, as I like to say, your best defense is a stronger you. And that's really, I mean, when you put everything together about kicking your clone's ass tomorrow, that's what it's all about. Because you got to be able to when Max says kick your clone's ass tomorrow, it's not just the physical.
Right. No, not hardly.
You know what I mean? Why don't you expand that a little bit? It's not just the physical. You're talking about the mental, everything.
Right. So, I mean, you take your clone self yesterday, right? It just means making a better you tomorrow. Yeah. So can you kick your clone's ass tomorrow? Can you think better? Do you have better balance? Have you learned something new? You know, all that stuff. And being kind is another one. You know, can you dial back on being a dick? You know, can you learn to work or feel the fulfillment when that charity brings you, those kind of things. So yeah, it's hardly is it just the physical thing.
Yeah.
It's making incremental improvements, small improvements with yourself every day, not grandiose goals. Grandiose goals you could put on a calendar for a year from now.
Yeah.
Something, but just small incremental improvements day by day, week by week, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I think everybody does tend to think of things just in terms of the physical. So
Right.
as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, well then let's expand the concept of the transverse plane to the
Mhm.
emotional,
Right.
to relationships, to finances, to work. In other words, because we all get in habits of behavior where we're just kind of it's our habit. It's all sagittalistic. We're not diverse. We're
Mhm.
not growing emotionally. We're not growing relationally. We're not growing as workers, as leaders, as what have you, because we're not challenging ourselves to go in directions, And so we get caught off guard with a situation with somebody and we act out of whack because we've never turned that way before. So it's just like pulling a
Mhm.
muscle because you've never worked life in the transverse plane. So I think
Great.
Mac's concept here can be applied so universally. In
Mhm.
fact, I'm going to get Mac. I'm going to get Mac to do in some of his Talking Head series, just transverse plane in other areas.
Oh, right on.
You know what I mean?
Cool.
I think that'll
Mhm.
maybe give you like what do you call it? Just some kind of grid that you can. Oh, okay. If I think about it that way, I can write all kinds of shit.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm writing
um,
that down right now.
so, but again, it goes back to that stronger you. And the other thing is, instead of looking at it exclusively as being kind and not being walked over, um, meekness is a word we don't like to use because we think it means you're mousy or whatever. Meekness. No, meekness actually means, the way the word has always been used, means restrained strength. So when you see these big Clydesdales, you know, all pulling a big,
Mhm.
Budweiser carriage, and you got like suddenly 8 of them looking at you and they could stomp you. You barely come up to their chest, but they don't stomp you, but they could stomp you. That's meekness.
Yeah.
That is restrained strength. That's what makes women. That's what women want. And this is going to be. I don't know whether we have any women here or not, but I'm going to give you guys some help here. Um, women want to feel like women. Okay, despite all the feminism stuff, they ultimately still want to feel like women. Women who, even though might be crushing it in the workplace, when they get home, they want to take their hair down. They want to get in the bathtub. They want that glass of wine because they're still women. And so a lot of times why women, for example, will go after the bad boy is simply because he's the symbol that most makes them feel vulnerable, most makes them feel like a woman, even though they understand there's a risk there. It's not that they're stupid. It's not that they don't understand that the friend guy in the friend zone is a better gamble and this
It's
guy's a
primal.
big risk, right? It's just that they would feel most like a woman around that particular model. Now we want to give them another option than friend zone versus bad boy. But if so long as you understand that for them, what they want they want their man to be strong. They just don't want him to beat the hell out of her.
Mhm.
They want restrained strength. That's meekness. She wants a meek man because she wants to be able to fall into his arms. You know what I mean? Without getting a sleeper hold put on
Mhm.
her. And so these things are at the root of abuse. They're at the root of all sorts of social dynamics in the negative. But in everyday life, man, what's important is that you be strong, that you know why you do what you do. When you are kind, you know why you're doing it. But if you're doing it based on the response of somebody else, you are always going to be disappointed. Expectations like that always lead to disappointment. You have to say to yourself, no, man, I'm doing this because it's the right thing. I'm kind because that's my mission in life. I'm going to be kind to you despite the fact that you're a dick and you deserve far worse. I'm still going to be kind to your junky ass.
Yeah, man.
Mac, favorite
Mhm.
cigar?
You know, right now I've been puffing on. Oh my God. Well, I like Maduros. So, and there's so freaking many of them out there. Asking. what my favorite cigar is kind of asking what my favorite IPA is. There's so freaking many of them. I'm trying to think of the brand that LFDs. So LFD, I think they're sort of new, but that's been my go-to. And, anything Maduro, typically, but I'm not super, super choosy when it comes to cigars. Cheap cigar, no freaking way. I can't do it because a cheap cigar tastes cheap and the smoke going into your mouth just is horrible.
So
LFD has been my go-to brand right now.
No Swisher Sweets?
Ugh, anything. Yeah, man, a cheap stick is just cheap.
No Swisher Sweets or Mad Dog 2020.
Right, yeah.
Standing us. Yeah, when me and Mac, we smoke those and drink Mad Dog 2020. We meet up right after the podcast at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, right on. In the parking lot.
That's right. Mac, what is your opinion on using air pistols for fundamentals practice?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, especially for the fundamentals. For instance, who asked that? What's his name?
Jordan.
Like marksmanship. There's a air pistol called Beeman. I don't know if they're still on the market, but I trained with one of those for a long time when I was training for the nationals in bullseye shooting. And I talk about cheap and in my backyard, ridiculous. But even for like draw stroke stuff, yeah, perfect. Super cheap, no noise, and good accuracy. If it's a good pellet gun or air pistol or rifle, you got good accuracy there too. So, you're not going to be cheated out of accuracy, which a lot of people worry about when they're using air type of rifles or pistols is, well, are they as accurate? Companies like Anschutz and stuff like that, these German and Swiss companies, man, they make some super, super precise air rifles and pistols. So, yeah, I'm down.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'm going to put that on my wish list. I need to get myself an air pistol.
Okay. Fed with Fred says, Matt, can you talk about your daily whiteboard? Just hung mine up yesterday.
Yeah, good.
Whiteboards, plural.
Right. Whiteboards. So I work off of a couple of them. So I have behind my desk, I have long term. So the year, what's going on this year. So it's a big calendar and I could draw notes on it. In my hallway, I walk past it every day in and out of my garage. In the laundry room is my what's on the list this week. So I see it all the time. That's this week. And it's just a reminder. All right, cars need tuned up, podcast tomorrow. So it's those things that I need to get to this week. Make this call, whatever it is. And if, whatever gets done gets erased immediately. And then something, of course, fills that void. In my kitchen, I have what needs to be done tomorrow or what the things I want to accomplish. So that's something I work on at night. I when I decompress at night, I think about, all right, what do I want to accomplish tomorrow? But let me write it down. I know that I'm going to have to, that I'll get on Patreon, but here's the content I want to build tomorrow. Tomorrow I want to do a first aid class. I want to do this. I want to do that. Also, these are the chores that need to be done. These are the to-dos. I don't need a honey-do list. I don't need somebody telling me. If my wife tells me, hey, this needs to be done, I'm going to put it on there. But I don't need somebody to tell me chores need to be done. But I want to write them on my tomorrow's to-do list so I have a method, a means of prioritization. Otherwise, I could be pretty scatterbrained if I don't have that mission when I wake up. All right, so today's mission is this. Boom, boom, boom. So I can start knocking. And sometimes I'm finished by 1 PM.
Right.
I'm like, damn. All right. Well, there's still more stuff that needs to be done. Now I could look at my whiteboard in the laundry room and knock out a couple of things that need to be done for the week. Right. So for me, it's almost like it's therapeutic for me. I kind of need that because I'm a little scatterbrained, a little ADD, and I need that I don't know, self-focus, kind kind of that task, mission essential task list. I need that in my life.
Yeah,
Works great.
Yeah, I would say for people to really strive for, because stuff like this I've always called human technology. It's just, in other words, little things that you can do that work for you. I mean, I remember as a little kid, going to school every day, I wanted to put my clothes and shoes, everything already at the edge of my bed when I got up. You know what I mean? I wasn't one of those kids. I didn't want to go and find what I was going to wear. I got it all ready the night before and put it down on the edge of my bed. Sometimes I would even get dressed in what I was going to, so I could just come immediately right out of bed and go to school. But there are little things I think that you can do to, whatever will impose the kind of behavior that you want. Those are things that you should surround yourself with. And I think, you should always be, especially when it comes to to-do lists, putting those things form. I couldn't live without the pads that I keep, and I just couldn't. I would forget. And that's the 54 thing. That's the 55 thing, right?
Right. 100%.
Okay. Kevin asked if can Patreon users get a heads up on open courses in North Carolina?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Not only that, but a lot of guys have asked about when my bands arrive. Before I put that stuff on the interwebs, I'm going to announce it to the squad first to give guys first dibs.
Yeah, in fact,
that's a good idea.
In fact, that reminds me, I have something I'll talk to you about afterwards, but also in relation to what you just said. So remind me to remind you, and then I'll remind you.
Remind me to remind you.
Ethan says, my wife and I are expecting our first baby in a couple months. Awesome. Was hoping you two could give some advice on how I can start building my own trailer park aristocracy with my family. Man. Matt?
Yeah, I know CJ's could go on and on about this. I think we jive on this a lot. I was not a helicopter type of parent.
Yeah.
I let my kids be kids. Of course, when they're little, younger than 2 years old, they are 100% dependent on every freaking thing you do. But I would still let them be babies, because it's necessary to explore, to clutch stuff and this and that. But and the other thing I didn't do, no freaking baby talk ever. I talked to them as soon as they were born, like they were a human being and not a baby. Right. That drives me freaking batshit, man. It's not a horsey. It's a horse. It's not a doggy. It's a dog. I read to my kids before they understood what reading meant. But you could see it. You could see it resonate with them. And it became a force of habit for me. It was a way of life. I couldn't go to bed unless I read my kids a book. Yeah. And, later in life, 8 years old, they just loved it. And they just, the more I read to them, the more they appreciated reading. But I had fun. Here's the other thing too. I enjoy it. It's fun. Enjoy the hell out of it. And don't, oh my God, there's no such thing as the freaking terrible twos or anything like that. You produce, the kids are produced by you.
That's right.
And they follow. Kids like pets kind of will follow the parents' demeanor. I mean, if you're high strung and super hyper, man, that kid's going to be the same freaking way. He's going to be climbing the cupboards, and you're going to find him on top of the refrigerator, throwing freaking dishes and stuff like that. My kids were awesome. They were awesome babies, and they grew up to be awesome. And it was easy because I had fun changing diapers. I had fun cleaning up after them. I had fun putting their toys away. I had fun playing with them, because it's fun. I mean, live vicariously through them.
Yeah, I love that, and because that's all very practical. And the thing that I really love about what Mac just said is what he didn't say, which was he's not turning his kids over to TV. He's not turning his kids over to everybody else. Because I think we're taught for the most part by institutions. We're raised by institutions, so we become very institutional. And when you do that, you just think, okay, well, the idiot box will babysit my kid for me. You let everything else train, and instead of you being that primary source of their values, their speech, their ability to think, their concept. And I think what Mac is saying is essential because it's practical, it's you, it's personal, it's very hands on. And I think, if you go into it, Ethan, as you are aware of the trailer park aristocracy, aware that you're building lineage, heritage, progeny, and the like, then, that's going to fuel everything that you say. So, for example, when I would pray with my kids when they were little, and I would, I didn't have a set prayer. I would always change it up every night. I wasn't reciting something. And so, but we'd pray for whatever when they were smaller, you're praying for the horsies. No, you're praying for the whatever you're praying for, But one thing that I would always do is I would always finish by saying, and let them do this with their children and their children's children to 100 generations. So there is zero concept of anything like that in contemporary society. Marriage and family are disposable. You don't like what you got, it's contractual, man. You can change the contract, and that's it. So there's no concept of, building for the future multi-generationally. But you take the top 1% of the population, they can't live like that. Rockefellers don't play like that. Mm-hmm. DuPont family doesn't play like that. The Johnson family doesn't play like that. Vanderbilts don't play like that. They don't let they put their kids in the private schools. They don't let their kids marry, derelicts from, the other side of the street because it's too costly. Divorce is too costly. They can't have it. They have to protect wealth, property, and resources over succeeding generations. So marriage becomes primary. That's why those kids are taught to be leaders. They're taught to be family-oriented, but family-oriented at a different level, not just loving each other, but I mean taking care of family resources over time. So as long as you have these concepts, you're going to find creative ways to give expression to those. But I would talk in those terms. But I really, really agree with Mac, especially on the reading with them, letting them be kids. Don't talk to them like they're babies. But lastly, I think you do have to discipline them. That's just my point of view. You have to discipline kids. But for me, the discipline is never in anger, ever. Because the thing,
right. Oh man,
yeah, because the thing that I want in fact, if I discipline them, I will stay with them, because like Christopher Walken says, the eyes are the windows to your face. Eyes are the windows to your soul, right? So I would stay there, because what happens is if you do it in anger and you leave after you discipline them and you didn't get it clear and everything right, then it harbors bitterness. Bitterness begins to snowball and grow. They become rebellious over time. They wonder, do you accept me? See, what I want them to understand is I'm not angry with you. I'm not disciplining you because I'm angry. I'm disciplining you because we need to correct, because you're violating a law we're going to live by. The law or the principle, the rule has authority. That is just the ultimate representation of what that rule is. But the issue is the infraction. Right? So we want to discipline based on, did they deliberately disobey a said rule? Are they being rebellious? That sort of thing. But even though I would still discipline them, I'm going to stay with them and look at their face in absolute peace and calmness until everything is all gone. And I ask them, sweetheart, is it all gone? And the eyes are the windows to the soul, man. I can see when it's gone. So we had a discipline encounter, but we left good. They understood it was about correction so that they can be better. And of course that kind of discipline changes as they get older, because when they're young, sometimes they just understand a swat on the diaper, man. I mean, that's just what they understand. But no yelling, no screaming, none of that stuff.
Right.
It's all about exercising authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So after all that, Ethan, if you mess up with this kid,
yeah, you got an issue, pal.
Okay, Alan asks, I have the space available, want to build a personal range so that I can avoid the flat range mindset. What would you recommend? Height, depth, width, number of targets, any other recommendations?
If you could go 50 by 50, if you have the land, if you go 50 yards by 50 yards, that'd be great, because now you could actually zero a rifle, because 25 There's a lot you could do at a 25-yard range if it's just pistol, but if you've got 50, I would go 50 by 50, and then as far as depth and height, I mean, make the berms as high as you can. It depends. I don't know what kind of equipment you have, the land, all that stuff. If it's backstop with a hill or mountain, but just a good GP range, a general purpose range. And if you could put berms on the sides as well, then that just opens you up to being able to do, target transitions and stuff instead of just straight ahead. But yeah, and then invest in good, if you could get an air sea land container on that chunk too, which are a lot of times they're dirt cheap. If you don't buy a perfect one, you could get them for like $1,500 or something like that. That way you could store all of your range supplies in there without it becoming weather damaged and beaten. All your steel and your wooden target stands and stuff like that. But build on it just slowly. Chunk of land at first. Push some dirt here. Push some more dirt when you have the opportunity. Also think about your medium, what your ground is made of, because if it's just dirt becomes mud in the rain. If it's gravel, if it's just gravel, that could wear and tear on your feet. I mean, the best ones are kind of like a gravel grass mix, the best ground, the flooring of a range. Yeah, because it's lower maintenance and it's not going to kill your feet. It's not going to absorb a bunch of heat. It's not going to turn to freaking slush.
Yeah. Scotch or bourbon, Mac?
Bourbon for me.
Yeah. I'm not the connoisseur Mac is, but I'm hooked on Taconic Distillery, man.
Yeah, that stuff is good.
Okay. How do you handle being on the brink of financial ruin? Where to start? Wow.
Ooh, damn, bro. Well, I've been there a couple times. Like I talked about it in a podcast, 2013 sequestration. Right. So all government contract stuff. And then the light switch went out in January. I had no work for 6 months. I racked up so much freaking debt, but I was not beyond saying, you know what? I'll go mow some freaking lawns, man. Yeah. I'll get a part-time job bagging groceries. I was not beyond that. Right. I mean, and I just worked on all the avenues possible. I mean, I was grabbing anything that I could take at the time, but man, that's tough. It's freaking tough, especially if you got a family and they're dependent on you. If you don't have a family, then shit, man, that's easy. But if you got kiddies and a wife depending on that, that's a whole different story. And you might have to downsize, sell stuff, whatever tangible assets you have that are worth something. You might have to say, you know what, I might have to get rid of these things and not take top dollar for them either. But yeah, it's a tough one. I really don't have a great answer except that don't be beyond doing, digging a ditch or mowing a lawn.
Yeah, no, it's a good word. The only thing I would add is that we get into the situations we get into, and this is, in other words, have the right philosophy in place, which is we are in the situations we are in for the most part by the decisions that we make.
Correct.
So getting out of the situation is made by right decisions. Now, making right decisions doesn't guarantee it's going to turn out like you like. But here's what I always say. Wisdom minimizes the damages. Mm-hmm. Okay, so making the right decisions and doing like mowing lawns and doing Max doesn't fix your situation. It doesn't cure you and put you in, where you were before, but it minimizes the damages and it gets you doing the right things that you need to do. It doesn't guarantee that everything's, because we don't know what you mean by, obviously, by financial ruin. That sounds serious. That sounds like Wall Street people say, Mac.
But don't ever get there again. If you've been there once, don't ever get back in that credit card debt, living on pennies. I learned that, like I said, in 2013, hard lesson learned, never again. never again. Yep, never am I going to have all my eggs in one basket again. No freaking way. I got backstop. I've got contingency plans. Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
wisdom.
what's interesting is that Mac, you and I actually talk about money a lot, but we never mention it. In other words, we always speak in terms of opportunity. We speak in terms of things that we can do. We think in terms of what, like for example, this group or whatever. It's just we always speak in those terms. So I've never had a conversation with Mac where he was talking about money. But
No.
I've had 1,000 conversations with Mac talking about business and work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
in other words, that's not the focus. The focus is to make ourselves valuable in the marketplace. That's our focus. We want to be perceived as problem solvers. So, your value is determined, my friend, by the problem that you solve. And the best way out of financial ruin is to get people to give you money. The best way to do that is to solve their problems. Figure out with your gifts, talents, and abilities what problems you can solve, even if it is, as Max said, mowing somebody's lawn. Whatever you can do to begin to use your knowledge and experience to solve problems. And I hope you'll stick around so that, as we go on in the group, man, we can watch. You give me and Mac a front row seat to watching you overcome this
Right.
shit, man.
Damn straight. Yep.
Okay, Truth Seeker says, my 12-year-old asks, what are the steps to becoming an operator like Mac?
Well, that's a long, arduous process.
Step one, reach 13.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I didn't go into the military with a lot of research. There was no interwebs or anything like that. There were very few. Nobody was writing books about their careers and crap like that. I had First Blood to watch. That came out in '82. Before that, I read the book because the book came out in the '70s, I think. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, just late '70s. Then shortly after that, the movie. But choose wisely with what your, that's the ambitious goal. The ambitious goal is, to be a tier 1 operator. So ambitious goal, but you need to have that backstopped as well. So, when guys ask me, hey, I want to become a SEAL, for example, or I want to become a Green Beret, it's not really backstopped that well. Right. I would set my sights a little lower, but still ambitious. For instance, the advice I give guys is, because if you don't make SEALs, you're to the needs of the Navy. You're painting gray on a boat. If you don't make Special Forces, needs to the Army. But if you say to yourself, I want to be an airborne infantryman, for example, that's a foot in the door, right? And it's a road. It's a step on the road to badassery. A little more ambitious, I want to be an Army Airborne Ranger. That's the advice I give everybody, is when they want to start in a career, in a special ops career, that's where I send them. I say, you know what? Because that is the fastest track to badassery and the most absolute professional infantryman on the planet. And if you don't make that, you'll probably end up in another infantry unit, but you're still a ground pounder and you'll get another chance. Right. You're still going to learn all those basic skills, all the basic stuff. But if you, let's say you're that first goal, you make it and you're an Army Airborne Ranger, you've got a foot in the door, because the percentage, the bulk of operators in Delta, for example, come from Airborne Rangers, Special Forces units. That's most of them come from there, but others come from all branches of the service. I mean, there's Marine Recon, there's SEALs in Delta, there's Air Force, CCT and PJs in Delta. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that helped. That's my advice on that.
I'm trying out, dude.
Right on.
But I'm not cutting my hair, bro.
Nah.
Okay. So here's another kid's question. 12-year-old asks. He said, Mac, you're a badass. Have you ever been shot before?
No, I've never been shot. I've been wounded. I've been like nearly, I've been in proximity of explosions, a lot of them. I've been shot at, but never shot. But nah, I've had my fair share of injuries, but never shot.
Mac was like,
It's not.
hit
That's
this, hit
that's
this.
yeah. That's a fair question.
Okay, my buddy Willie Will asks, what are you guys currently reading?
So I'm reading Hive Mind right now.
Okay.
Have you heard of that one, CJ?
I have.
Hive
Yes.
Mind. So pretty good. To me, what I'm getting out of it is like one of the things I'm opposed to is groupthink. Drinking each other's Kool-Aid. So I see a lot of that in that book. But yeah, pretty good. I like the writing style. To me, an author's got to have a good style of writing. Because I have got to be sold on page one. Page one's got to grab me. Otherwise, it's gonna be put on the shelf, and I'm gonna come back to it periodically. Right. But yeah, Hive Mind is what I'm reading right now.
Yeah, that's always a tough question for me to answer because reading is a part of my work. So I have to read constantly, whether it's journals or articles or books. And a lot of the books will be reference material. So it's kind of like, when I was a kid, I drew a lot, right? So I became a designer and all that. But now after like 30 years of design work, people are like, hey, do you paint for fun? No. You know what I mean? It's like Mac used to talk about, I don't jump out of airplanes for fun because the Army kind of takes the fun out of it. So it's same thing here. It's just, it kind of takes the fun. So I don't necessarily read because I have to read constantly for what I do. But having said that, so I've got to go like completely off the reservation to stir my juices. And the thing that is stirring my juices is a book by Tom O'Neill called Chaos, and he was on Joe Rogan's show recently. And so he went back into the Manson investigation into those murders. And he's saying the official story is bullshit. And so it's a look into what the spooks were doing. Spooks and the FBI was doing back during the 60s, infiltrating leftist movements, what they perceived to be leftist threats, such as Black Panthers and whatnot. So I'm about halfway through it. But going back to what Mac just said about the way somebody writes, this guy is a journalist. So he worked on this book for 19 years. And he knows how to, it's like one of those Netflix documentaries that you got to watch the whole damn thing. They just leave you wanting that more almost soap opera fashion. So that's what's so entertaining about it is just, man, it's been so long since someone has kept me interested with the intrigue. Because it's like those kind of Pelican Brief, John Grisham kind of thing where just layer upon layer starts to be revealed. So that's what I have to read to be entertained by. But for information, if I gave you the laundry list of the shit I read every day, man, I'd be like throwing a pork chop in a baby crib. Okay, Dan asks, what's your opinion on XS big dots? I'm considering some, but on the fence.
XS.
I don't know what that is, bro.
Well, have him elaborate because I think he's talking about is it XS, the letters XS or XS?
Yeah. Right. XS, yeah.
Well, so this could be, the dots on the pistol mounted dot debate, that kind of thing. I'm thinking.
Okay.
Did he elaborate?
He did not elaborate. I'm trying to not go down too far, but we'll come back to that if we have to.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now I lost my place. I got it. Damn. Devin asks, trying to get into a routine. Are there any workouts or tips that Pac would suggest? Well, yes, watch his feed.
Yeah, watch my feed and follow that combat strength training program. Oh, I recorded that class, right, for the Patreon group.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I
the CST class. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So I think I'll put that up this weekend. I'll put that up, the CST, because that'll give. Who asked that? You said Devin?
That was Yes, Devin.
So Devin, once I put that combat strength training, I'm going to do a bunch of stuff for you guys, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be cool. I look forward to it. You can tell I'm very excited about this. So you won't even have to download my book or anything like that, my ebook on combat strength training. I'm going to give you enough information and then kind of we'll follow up on that. But once I put that up, it's a pretty simple formula, and you'll have a formula to start because I break down the work week into priorities. You know, each day represents something else. So you're able to write your own scheduling, your own workouts. I think you'll really enjoy that. What was the question again? Do you recall what the question
was? Just kind of how to get started with
right.
sort of routine.
So, yeah. So there we go. Yep, I'm going to give you that in that CST mini block that I'm going to put up on this Patreon site. I think that'll be my next one. I'll put up since he asked.
The XS was the pistol sights.
Right. So right now I just mounted an Aimpoint Acro. All right, let me give you my opinions on these things. So I am at this age where I can't do anything without these things right here, and that includes seeing my iron sights.
You're blind.
I have learned to embrace the blur. So my front sight is no longer crispy. It's a big, massive blur, but I have learned to put that big, massive blur in the center of my target and control the trigger. And at 25 yards, I'm still knocking out the X-ring. No problem. That dot, I can see that thing. I mean, crystal clear. And I am lethal at 50 yards. There's no doubt it is a battlefield multiplier. It is a mechanical advantage. But if I take one to a class, and if I outshoot everybody, they'll go, well, you have an optic on your pistol. That's why you're outshooting me. So I'd rather hand them a big old glass of shut the fuck up, not be able to see my sights, and still outshoot them.
Right.
Now, once they become the norm, there's no doubt I'm gonna start carrying one. There are some pros and cons. For instance, battlefield multiplier, mechanical advantage for accuracy work. Speed, you need to perform the appropriate amount of meaningful repetitions because it's hard to pick it up fast initially. So if you're a guy who works on the range a lot and you typically have a 1.5 second draw stroke first shot at 10 yards, that's not going to be consistent. You might have to drop down to 225, 250, 2.50 for a while until you could pick that thing up quickly. The same thing goes for target transition. You could lose that dot fast, but all you need to do is perform, a couple thousand repetitions and then you got it. But I am going to be a fan. There's no doubt. And I love that Aimpoint Acro. So
just
there you go.
As a footnote, Eddie Simmons says, Mac, if you use the big dot XS, it will help with the eyesight. My dad is back to shooting like a younger guy now that he's able to see those sights. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so Darren asks, with regards to firing on all cylinders, some of us are still working remotely or even more essential workers. With all the added stress, how do you factor in time for mental health and decompressing? You just do it.
Yeah, I don't think about it much. There comes a point in the day where I determine this is the end of the day. Yeah. I'm going to decompress. I'm going to chat with my wife. We'll crack up but I'll do it with her too. I don't distance myself from my bride on this. We've been working well together. But like right now, she's reading her book. Must be a pretty good book, and I'm doing this, but we'll chew the fat after this. We'll watch some stupid, ridiculous TV, and laugh together. And I'll have a glass of bourbon, and she'll have a vino or a whatever. And I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna set a point in the day where I say, all right, enough work. Let's chill. Let me do it with my family, and have fun together.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I don't go off and meditate or anything like that. I got to watch stupid stuff, drink, and
right.
To definitely decompress. Okay, so Chris Figueroa asks, what are some of the hardest lessons you learned, mistakes you made when breaking out on your own?
Man, this could be an hour-long thing here. I just did a podcast. I forget what it was, but I think it was There Is No Try, okay. Maybe that one. Yeah. But I have learned a lot of lessons. because I have made all of the mistakes. So when breaking out on my own, so mistake number one, I went for low hanging fruit.
Right.
What's the easiest path to go down? I mean, it was a paycheck. I'm working for the man, but it's a paycheck, and it seemed like something I would enjoy doing. So that was number one, just low hanging fruit and accepting mediocrity. Um, Another one was, and we just talked about it, all my eggs in one basket, because man, did I learn, because that low hanging fruit job working for the man led me to was being laid off. Now what do I have? Not a freaking thing. Nothing. So learn that lesson. Next lesson, after building my own corporation, I said, oh, I'm on my own now. Ooh, and the government is paying me to do stuff. Let me just keep doing that. That was my next lesson learned. Government contracts, going for that. Sequestration, light switch out, hit rock bottom again. All my eggs in one basket, even though I'm working on my own. So I've learned a bunch of freaking, and so not diversifying, that was massive, huge, all eggs in one basket. That was a huge mistake. Another one, I started social media late in life, and but once I found it and learned the value of it, and this was a great line from that Hive Mind. It's the interweb is like a honey-coated thorn. People spend too much time pricking themselves with the thorn. They don't get to enjoy the honey that comes along with it. But so I learned that late in life too, or later. That was a hard lesson learned. So yeah, man, I've made all of the mistakes, and I'm scratching the surface on them. I'm sure I am. I'm sure I am.
He's skimming. Yeah, he's skimming in this. Eddie Simmons says, I've read through Sentinel about 5 times. Ever considered making others? Is there a part 2 coming, Mac?
Yeah, absolutely. When, I'm not sure, but I think I'll do with Sentinel what I did with the Taps book. Is because the Taps book, when I first put it out, I rushed through it because I was working for that corporation and they were kind of plagiarizing a lot of stuff that I was putting out. So I went, man, I need to protect this intellectual property. Right. So that was my driving force behind writing the Taps book. A year later, I realized, well, people are buying it, but it's crap. Let me do a rewrite. So it was just an edition number 2. So I think I'll do the same thing with the Sentinel book, because I don't want to discard all that information. It's good, but I'll do an edition, a second edition. Right. So it'll have all the stuff in it. I'll take out a few things, because when I flip through it, there's a few things that, this is just eyewash. Am I trying to impress somebody by putting in, an advanced party checklist of what the Secret Service does? We really don't need that in there, right, even though it's semi-interesting. So yeah, the edition 2 is a good idea. Let me jot that down on my notebook too.
See?
Yep.
The group helps us too, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay. Alex writes, has a real tough time with my teenage daughter on the social media. All of her friends are on it. Any advice on unplugging her?
Ooh, dude, that's like taking somebody off welfare,
That's taking them off
crack. Yeah, man. You can't just, you've got to slowly turn back the spigot that dispenses the goodies. Now, one of the things I do with my kids is I follow them on all their social media, but I make it fun. So they're allowed to put all their goofy crap on there, and I follow them and I make goofy comments back. But I keep in mind that their friends are seeing this stuff too, so I don't want to be like a dad, on there and harass them. But man, that's a tough one, because these Generation Zers, that's all they've known, and they are crackheads on that soch, man. And it is, it's not even a double-edged sword. It's like a one-edged sword when you're that, you're that young, because you don't know the value of social media. Yeah. You're just looking at it to, find the scoop on what others are doing, saying, wearing, and what celebrities are doing. Yeah. Man, that's tough. What do you think on that?
You got 2 essential problems. One is it's like, you waited too long.
Yep.
And so the thing is ultimately we want our kids to want to do the right thing. We want them to want. And when they don't want, that's really the greater concern. So if you end up taking something away or being restrictive, it doesn't produce the result you want. It produces resentment and sneakiness. Because a man persuaded against his will is of the same opinion still. So still going to want to go and do these things. What we want is for them to want something else. Desire is the key. Because it's just they're going to do what it is they want to do with you, without you. It doesn't matter. And it just gets, then it, after the cell phones, it turns into back seats and that kind of stuff. So what I would do, I'd be very careful. I would talk to them about it more so than try to discipline. I think what Max says is a good idea. Is be a part of their life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we should all be that way. Your kids should want you to be around. So in other words, you're going to encroach in a healthy way. You're not going to say anything embarrassing to them, but you're there. They know that you are there. And sure, they're going to try and DM people and do everything they can behind your back. But at the same time, you're going to try and engage with them and talk to them about what Susie said and what this girl said and what they're wearing, and talk. Talk to your kids. That relationship is so key, and it gives you the opportunity to deposit something else.
But definitely draw barriers too. Like, for instance, if you're eating, no friggin' way.
Oh yeah.
You're out to eat or something like that. No friggin' way. Yeah. No. And my kids will sneak it out every once in a while if I take them out for Chinese food or something, and I'll look at them. I go, I'm pretty sure you're telling me I'm boring right now.
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me? That I'm boring? Because that's what I'm picking up. The vibe I'm picking up from you is I am boring. Mm-hmm. And I'll just be ridiculous about it. And they'll catch the drift, and they know they're old, they're 16 and 18. So they know that it's inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I think that's a very, very important distinction to make. There are times when the hammer comes down no matter what.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's certain things you do and do not do, or well, whatever. But like with my kids, I always told them that, there was a line that you couldn't cross, and don't tempt me. I will leave you on your own. We don't have two different sheriffs in this house. I'll never ask you to do something that is a violation of character, or to humiliate you, or that would be damaging to you, or I would never, ever do that. Your father is behind you 1,010%. Every dime I have, every bit of blood, sweat, and tears is absolutely committed. You will never find another human being throughout your whole life who's more committed to your success than your old man. Nobody. And they know that. But, there's a price you pay for having everything paid for. Food in the refrigerator, getting to set the temperature outside your room, your clothes, everything that you have. Because I am financing your existence, and I will remove that financing because I will not fund rebellion. I'm not going to finance rebellion. I'm not going to underwrite your rebellion. I want to build a trailer park aristocracy. So if you are perpetuating the vision of the house, so to speak, then I will reward it, and I will underwrite it, and I will support it. If you are working against it, well, you could do that elsewhere. And yeah, my kids know that at a certain point, which we never, ever got close to, at a certain point, I would say, well, yeah, you need to take that philosophy somewhere else. Since you got it all figured out, go do it. Now, of course, I'm always here for the prodigal son to come back home. The door is always going to be open, but there's a price you pay to get all of these things. But hopefully that's not the case. I think we're just dealing with somebody who's just spent a little too much time on the phone and smack it down at dinner time.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Just 100 more questions, Mac. I just have a few thousand words to say. Okay. Okay. Jeremy asks, Mac, with your opinion of groupthink, do you think you and CJ would ever open up the Patreon community setting or just keep it to your content only?
Oh, no, we've talked about opening it up, right?
Yeah, we talked about bringing in some...
Like Blower and a couple other... Yeah. I think that'll be good because, I mean, we're going to do... we're doing this from a consumer point of view,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, no, because we don't want to fall into that groupthink mode. Yep. And I don't think we do, because CJ and I, we are free to disagree with one another when we do our podcasts and such like that. So there's no groupthink with us. But yeah, that's something we talked about initially, is bringing other folks on as contributors.
We talked about this just not too long ago, as you mentioned Tony
So
Blauer.
good idea.
Yeah.
What was dude's name who asked that?
Jeremy Williams.
Yeah, good question, Jeremy.
That's Mr. Jeremy Williams. No, I'm kidding.
Right on.
Okay, let's see. Favorite budget cigars?
Oh, that's an easy one. Hold on. So what's the? It's Brick House.
Okay.
So it's a relative of Arturo Fuente. Guys on here who smoke.
Say it with an accent, though, dude.
Yeah, Arturo Fuente. But guys on here who smoke cigars know that, and I guarantee you they'll agree with me. Budget cigar, Brick House. Yep. Because it's an offshoot. It's a relative of Arturo Fuente.
Okay. Mac, why didn't you use your GI Bill and go back to school when you got out of the military and the company laid you off? If you consider it, what would you have studied?
Well, I didn't, because I had to get a job. I had to work, because you're not gonna be able to survive on a military pension, because that shit ain't a lot. But if I had to go back, that's a good question. I never even thought about that. Oh, I have. I'm sorry. That's stupid, because I have thought about it. I would have loved, and I still every once in a while think about it. I sit back and I reflect, and I'm introspective and think to myself, you know what? I would love to be a high school teacher. I'd love to get my teaching degree.
Really?
Really? Yeah,
100%.
Well, my dad was a teacher for years and years and years, and I teach. You know, I love teaching, but I think high school or junior high school, not elementary, but you know, that way I could help mold and mentor young malleable minds. And I think it would be, a lot of our mentors were teachers.
Right. And
regardless of what the subject matter was, if the teacher was good, then you were picking it up and you enjoyed that class. I mean, like you, high school was a long freaking time ago.
Yeah.
But I still remember my teachers, the best teachers, you know. I remember you know, their names and their demeanor, and the subject matter wasn't all that interesting, but man, they made it cool.
Yeah.
You know, they made it cool. They were earning that $20,000 a year or whatever they were making on teacher salary back then. But yeah, that's my answer, and I'm sticking with it because I still think about it. I still think think there's a community college here, and if I ever think about, you know, working down the line, like getting a job, even substitute, I'll get a teaching degree.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
I've been in custom gun work as a hobby and trying to get the ball rolling to start my own business. Do you have any advice on doing so?
Well, there's a whole, so you're in an industry that's pretty big because a lot of guys do it. And the good thing about that industry is there's a lot of cohesion. There's not a lot of backstabbing in that industry, you know, but you need that good social media platform. And it's like this. It's like when the guy invented Coca-Cola. He didn't stand in a street corner and say, "Hey, I've got this product and you're going to love it, but you got to give me 30 cents first."
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you're going to love it. I mean, he had to give a lot of shit away, you know, but he had to also give it to the right people. So I have guys approach me all the time. Hey, I just started my business. Would you like to try this thing out, this widget? Now, there's times where I say no, because I look at their social media and I'm thinking, this guy looks slimy. And I do not want to be affiliated at all with somebody who's got even the slightest bit of slime on any of his social media platforms. Because if I give him an endorsement like, man, this trigger is freaking awesome by so and so, and he turns out to have this other social media platform that is, questionable, I do not want to be affiliated with that. But there's been a bunch of guys who I've helped out. They've sent me stuff, and I'm all about helping out that small business, man. I'm all about it. That guy starting out, and if the product's good, I will post something on my YouTube page. And I'm not saying me, but there's other guys like me, but it could be me. You never know. But I'm kind of fickle because, man, I have established a really good reputation. I'm so clean, you could eat off me. And I'm very, very careful in this industry, in the gun industry, because even though there's a lot of cohesion, there's also a lot of, I'm not going to call it backstabbing. There's a lot of competition, not so much backstabbing. But yeah, so a good social media platform, try to align yourself with the right people in that industry, because here's the other thing. In that industry, there's a lot of douchebags in the gun industry. So a shooter like me, there's a lot of guys in my industry that I don't want anything to do with. I mean, I'm cordial with all of them, but I know that they've got some skeletons in the closet. I know that they've got baggage, and man, nope. I'm not having anything to do with them. Nope.
Yeah.
And I will never talk about them.
I think that's wisdom. And yeah, it's, you want to be careful of flooded markets for sure.
Yep.
That's why, there's 15,000 motivational speakers. There's just one metal motivator though. Lots of people are, in Mac's industry, but there's only one Pat Mac. So we've done what we could to stand out as personal brands. And so as Mac said, how you handle social media is going to be a big part of that. So you need some personality. A lot of guys from Mac's ilk, I'll often note these tier 1 dudes, man, they disappear. You know what I mean? They're just, you can't find them anywhere. And they could be walking right by you, have no idea that guy was an operator.
Yep.
But Mac was blessed with excess of personality. So he's a creative soul. He has a lot to give. He has a lot to share. And so he's leveraging that. And you say, okay, well, could he still just do the workout videos and not have to have the Mac show? No, you got to have the Mac show. The Mac show is it's the honey that brings people in. It's the alluring. That's what got him on Jocko. That's what got him on Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Because he is a personality to talk to. Yeah, he's going to give you, tons of information. And when he does his training, it's going to be a great service. He's going to go the second mile with you. But at the same time, man, people are, Mac, you've told me yourself, people are coming for the Mac show. So yeah, man, it's a part of it. So differentiate or die, I always say. Okay, we'll try to scroll through a lot of these.
And while you're the next one of the things I left out is he's got to find his niche, which basically you were saying.
Yeah. Our friend Christopher from overseas asked about working with SAS, and I think you've said that before on the podcast. You have.
Yeah, man, those guys are badass. I love them.
I even met one.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I just won't tell you where.
Yep.
Okay, so Eddie Simmons asks, can't believe we get a music question.
Cool.
What would be y'all's top 3 non-metal bands? For example, Johnny Cash, Rage Against the Machine, NWA.
Johnny Cash and NWA.
Yeah.
So, those are some examples of non-metal bands.
Yeah.
All right. Man, I've got a lot of favorite. I mean, well, non-metal bands. NWA, Johnny Cash, right? Okay. And what was the other one?
Rage Against.
Okay. All right. So those are non-metal bands. Let me see. How about Disturbed?
Yeah.
They're a non-metal band.
Mm-hmm.
I like them.
Yeah.
They have, man, one of the best covers ever is Sound of Silence.
Oh my gosh.
So is that Simon and Garfunkel?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when Disturbed did that, oh my God. And then they had that one tune that as soon as you hear it, you like it. It's sometime darkness comes out of the light. Yeah. Sometimes darkness comes out of the light. But yeah, great. So there's one. I kind of got bushwhacked on this one. You know what I mean? I like these on Q&A, so we don't have to think
it's
about
just
them.
some time to think about it. Yeah.
Yep. But because I mean, growing up, I was a rock and roller. You know, I listened to Black Sabbath, but there wasn't a lot of metal that I followed growing up. I was a big Who fan. I still am.
Yeah.
Man, I could throw on Quadrophenia and sing every single verse to all four sides of that double LP, bro. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Non-metal metal band. We talked about this on the podcast. There was I got another one. Stand by.
Revenge?
Yeah, no, not so much. I'm not like a fan, you know. I won't go to. Rebecca listens to one, and I love it. Every time she cranks it up, it's Shine Down.
Okay, yeah, Shine Down. I put
Yep.
like Shine
Man.
Down, Shine Down, Volbeat.
Yeah, Volbeat. Oh, dude, Volbeat is freaking awesome
Yeah.
for a non-metal metal band. Man, they have their own thing going too.
Yeah.
Nobody sounds like Volbeat, and they're like Scandinavian or something, aren't they?
Yeah,
but they're inspired. But they're inspired by the Southwest.
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
US.
They like the it's like a rockabilly meets
Right.
heavy metal,
Yeah.
kind of thing, and kind of because the singer used to head up a full on death metal band, so he got tired of growling and did this, and yeah, I remember going with my brother to go see Megadeth in Austin. And we had a bunch of people sitting by. It didn't look like necessarily like Megadeth fans, but Volbeat opened, and when Volbeat finished, they left. So they came from Volbeat and not Megadeth. I was like, oh damn.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Okay. Kevin says more Lewis and Clark type podcast. That was excellent. We have talked about doing, and this is something we can think out loud here. I've thought about like book club, book study kind of.
Yeah. I've got one. Next one.
Okay.
I got a homework assignment for you.
Cool.
And endurance.
Oh,
Shackleton.
Okay.
So dudes would, oh my God, talk about perseverance and another great leadership book. Holy shit. I've got to read it again. I'm putting that on my, so instead of Hive Mind, tomorrow I'm going to start endurance again.
Okay. All right. So me and Mac will talk about how we want to do this kind of stuff.
That's good.
So I thought it would be great, even just in some of this kind of stuff that we even, I don't know whether we even did tier 1 stuff, do something that was book related. In other words, hey, in July, we're going to do Mind Gym. We're just going to all read through Mind Gym together,
good.
talk about that kind of thing. So
that's a good idea.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Andrew says you make a great distinction between positive and negative uses of social media. What tips on using it for the good things? That's all we do, right?
Yeah. And I also gave an example of not using it for bad. So during this lockdown, this quarantine, I have had the opportunity to get on it more. And I got on Facebook more because I like the stories on Facebook. A lot of people post really cool stories, very heartwarming, heartfelt stories. But that's where people go to hang dirty laundry too, you know, to air their grievances, to express their dislike in politics or whatever. So it's very tempting to chime in, to say, you know what, here's my opinion on this. Since this is open forum, and you just express your opinion, which is totally against what I think. But since I'm one of your friends on Facebook, but instead of that, I realized that the next day I found myself thinking about negative comments that people were thinking about. So you know what that was doing? It was negatively affecting me. And I said, man, I am being victimized by somebody.
Being raped.
I am being victimized. That's what it is. I was victimized by somebody on the interwebs. So I went through the next day or the next week and systematically just deleted those people. Deleted them. Now it's funny because recently somebody sent me a text because it was anniversary. Rebecca and my anniversary, and they said, well, I couldn't find you on Facebook because you blocked me. Because they were going to send the congratulations, happy anniversary on Facebook. It's like, well, there's a good, and I didn't, I just made light of it. I went, oh yeah, I don't use Facebook much anymore, that kind of thing. But I didn't want to hear it because I don't want to be victimized. I don't want to be a victim of somebody else's negativity, because whether you agree with it or not, if you're reading it, it's going to have an adverse effect on your psyche. So there's no way I'm going to let that happen. There's no freaking way. So what it did was encouraged me to put out a better positive message and write a task list down of the positive things I could put out. It motivated me. So yeah, I just try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. What are you going to do, man?
Delete.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jonathan asks, his coronation has turned into corona castration. Lives alone. Motivation is waning. How do you reignite the lava on the days you just don't feel like doing shit?
Well, we talked about that a bunch here tonight, right? Now, first off, make that mission essential task list, because you write it down at night. You have to abide by it in the morning. That's rule of law. You made that list, which may start with, and bro, this will change your life. Once you pee and you drink that quart of water, you look at your list and it says, do 100 push-ups. Now, you're not going to be able to, there's very few of us that could do 100 freaking, but you may do 5 sets of 20. And that is going to change your attitude for the rest of the freaking day. Something as simple as that. It may take you 5 minutes. It may take you half an hour. But the next thing on your list is make a good breakfast. Like for instance, I'm not talking eating a bowl of cereal. I'm talking making some perfect soft-boiled eggs. Perfect soft-boiled eggs. And if you don't know how to make a soft-boiled egg, well, freaking look it up on the interwebs and make a couple perfect soft-boiled eggs, because you just earned that. You just did 100 push-ups, bro.
Right.
100 push-ups. And but man, that is going to start the gears in motion for the rest of the day. Trust me on this. Try it. Try that. See what freaking happens. It's going to change your world, bro.
And then post it on Facebook so everybody can argue about it.
Yeah. So people can tell you that this is stupid.
Yeah, Jonathan, you're just in a mind. It's just a mind habit. You're just in a mind trap. And remember, this is not who you are. You're not your negativity, man. One of the reasons why, and I said this in a little post I did on my own profile the other day, one of the reasons why we allow negativity to dwell instead of casting it out when it first knocks on the door of our mind is because it comes to the door dressed like us.
Cool.
You know what I mean? You can't, and it's hard to shut the door on yourself. You think it's you. It's not you. It's just a habit of thought. And I know it's tough, and I know you're by yourself and all that stuff. But like Max said, we start doing stuff like putting up to-do lists and having these rituals in the morning and pushing yourself and having little victories are so important, man.
Yeah, man. Little.
And high five the hell out of yourself every time you do it. I don't care if you're just making your bed, dusting something off. Be excited about it. Just say to yourself, hell yeah, got that done. Hell yeah.
Celebrate that soft-boiled egg.
Celebrate. That's what I did with my kid when I finally convinced his little ass to eat broccoli.
Right.
Because he didn't want to eat the broccoli. But then the first time he did it, right? I mean, what am I going to do? Well, say nothing? Hell no. We threw a party. Right? Me and my wife were like, yay, you ate your broccoli. Like it was the greatest thing ever. You celebrate the little victories, man. Go eat some broccoli and celebrate the victory. Okay. Will you do a video on stowing climbing rope as they taught in Ranger School mountaineering phase?
Well, that would be about that's a minute and a half thing. I could do that, but I think I would need to throw it in with something else. I'd need to do it a 2-fer or a 3-fer, because it's pretty easy thing, but I'm hitting a very narrow demographic even on this Patreon site, even on the squad, because I doubt that many people even have climbing ropes out there. But yeah, man, just remind me, just ping me on the Patreon site and I'll do a 1.5 minute thing and throw it up. And I'll do that on a whim. I can do that.
Carmel Sack, I don't know what that even means, bro. Carmel Sack says, Max, speaking of metal, check out Brain Candle, a small Philly band.
All right. Brain Candle. Writing it down.
There's a lot of great compliments here. I can't read all these guys. I appreciate you making them, but Mike says, I want to thank you both for everything. Making a bunch of life improvements step by step. Your motivation helps push me to succeed in that next step. Man, that's what we do it for. And
Right on.
we're honored to have you here, man. Okay. Let's see. Joe asked, y'all need anything from any of us? We probably have a bunch of different backgrounds, physical therapists, lawyers, engineers.
All right. So my initial video I put out is that none of us are smarter than any of us. We're on this journey together, and and man, I've gotten some great advice from the group on content and stuff like that. But yeah, I appreciate it. Nothing pops right now. Nothing comes to mind, but absolutely, if we need something, and I'm hoping this goes all ways too. If we need something, we'll reach out. But if you need something, reach out too, because one of us here in the squad may be able to help.
Yeah.
Maybe able to give you that assist.
Yeah, and and some house cleaning I think would be in order here. Yeah, we're totally open to whatever, with the understanding that right now we're kind of getting up to speed here and getting a rhythm and figuring things out and all of that. The Patreon, as maybe a lot of people who are watching tonight realize, Patreon scrooged things up big time.
You talk for a minute.
Okay.
I got to go pee.
So Patreon screwed things up pretty bad with. All right, let's talk about Mac now that he's gone. No. They screwed things up for a lot of people. Very difficult to get in. Again, some of you may have had that bad experience yourself. So once we get up to speed and things, we'll get more creative with some of these things. But yes, man, if you have skill sets or whatever, or something you want to contribute, man, send us a message, leave it in a comment. That's how creativity is going to be born. But again, in terms of house cleaning, if any of you, it's good to hear from you here. It would be great to also, see you guys and gals talk to each other there on the feed as well. Because I know one of the things that I said to Mac at the outset was, I really want there to be a true community experience. You know what I mean? That I want people to meet, some of their future best friends. I want people to, meet people who are going to have their six. So, it's going to be important that, everybody, and you may be shy or whatever, but reach out, man, comment on each other, introduce yourself to each other. It's a community, man, because we're all like-minded here. And like Mac said, we are all on this journey together. And Mac is a squadron leader, but that doesn't mean he's the only guy kicking down the door and shooting his gun. You know what I mean? He's just telling you what door we're kicking in. So we definitely want all of this. So you guys bear with us in that particular process. And somebody here just said something.
Yeah, let's field a few more.
Jason, regional stuff. I'm sure some of us are located in the same spots. I'm out by Vegas. Yeah, that's another thing is you might, I could figure out an effective way to kind of get a map of where people are, because we may do things where if enough people are concentrated in certain areas, we'll go out and have a weekend squad, something, in hub areas like maybe a Dallas, Chicago, or Vegas, or something like that. But we got to have a lot of people who can get that. They don't have to all be in that area, but if it's going to be easier for you to go from Southern Cal to Vegas than it would be from Southern Cal to North Carolina. So if we can all meet that way and people are willing to put some money on the line and go out there and get a room and do all that kind of stuff, man, we can have some killer. Dude, this could be the start of something hell of a lot bigger than Mac.
Possibilities are limitless, bro.
Totally limited. So
limitless.
We're glad you guys are the foundation members, I forget
the plank holders. Yeah. The plank holders.
Yeah, what I forget to call it. Founding members of the squad, man. We'll have to make plaques. Okay, one more here. What would you recommend, Benelli or Beretta shotguns? Very limited to what I can own in Scotland. Both of them are easiest to get here. Looking to upgrade.
Yeah, so I'm not a big shotgun guy. I don't have a dog in that hunt. They're both of them are are good. Now you're probably talking auto. Sounds like Benelli or yeah. I mean, I'd rather go with with a semi, instead of an auto personally because fewer working parts and stuff like that. But I think either one of those, like I said, I don't have skin in that game. I don't have a dog in that hunt. So I just don't have a good answer for you on that front. If it's a rifle or pistol question, and I've got more answers, but sorry about that. Either one's going to work fine, bro, because it's a shotgun. You're not going to shoot thousands of rounds out of it, or tens of thousands of rounds. You're going to shoot it every once in a while and use it for home protection, and it's going to work. Either one of those are going to work.
Is that what it's best for, home protection?
Well, those that yes, personal protection, that the ones he's talking about, yeah. Because he's not going to go shoot skeet with those things.
Right. Good. Okay, guys. Man, this is almost 2 hours, and that was pretty good for a first.
Yeah, man.
At this, man. Now, guys, here. Now, check out what I can do. Let's see if this works. Mac, you only see this if you can see it on the video, but I can pull up people's comments like this. If you can see that, Mac, you can't see it from looking at me, but you can see it as when it pops up on the video. But it's a pretty cool effect. I can bring someone's comment on screen. I don't think anybody can see that because it's not registering on the YouTube video yet either, so not important. Okay, so we'll talk more about how we're going to do this. I guess we'll still have to have the feeds going in both places, Patreon and YouTube, but what I'll try to do is next time when I post the link into the feed, I'll also try and put the YouTube link there for anybody who doesn't quite know how to just click on the corner thing. But that way you can go and check it out real time or on YouTube. My comments that I'm receiving in my software that I'm using this from are exactly the same time as the YouTube comments. So YouTube and me are basically on the very same cadence. So good. All right. So we got our hands full.
Yeah, man. Right on. Good start.
Me and Mac we're going to be confused whether we're doing a podcast or live.
Right.
We're like, dude,
you have to switch gears here.
You're going to get used to that chair. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Max, stay on. I'll just cut off the feed here in a second. But hey, guys, thank you so much for being with us. And
yeah, guys, thanks a lot.
Mac, dude, as always, thank you for being squadron leader. Thank you for taking the time, bro.
Right on.
All right.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
Cat Daddies, we'll see you guys in the community. Take care.